Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, something just happened in Greece and it's not a disaster yet and it could go either way. It could be a good thing or it could be a terrible thing. So recently, Mein Schiff 6, which is a fairly large cruise ship, holds over 1,000 some passengers, 2,000 passengers. Right now it has about 920 passengers, about 660 66 crew members. Isn't that a great number to have for your crew members, 666? I think I would have hired one more just to get that number out of there. But we have the Mein Schiff 6 and it is set sailing from Greece. It's on a cruise right now. It left on Sunday and it's on its way to Piraeus, and it has now have 12 crew members test positive. Now these crew members were tested and out of 150 random tests that they did on the ship and sent it to an outside source laboratory for confirmations, and 12 of them have come back as positive. They immediately isolated them and they talked with the Coast Guard, and so far everybody is asymptomatic, showing no signs whatsoever of having the virus. Crew members had to be tested twice before getting on the ship, plus they were isolated on the ship. Cruise passengers were tested twice before getting on the ship. So this seems like an awful lot of tests for positivity on this cruise ship with only, under 1,500 passengers on board. So they are retesting. They've isolated those 12 crew members. The Coast Guard and TUI and the government health officials have all said, continue on the cruise, keep going to the next port. At the next port, we will have the health officials sitting there waiting, and if it's need be, we will retest these people and we will test anybody else who needs to be tested. Now, that being said, they've already started doing another test on board for these 12 crew members, and so far, 4 of those 12 have come back negative so far that they've tested. So already a third are showing that the first test was a false positive. So that would be the best news, to go through all 12 of these crew members and have them all come out and say, you know what, they were all false positives, everybody tested negative again, everything's fine going forward. The best thing that I've seen so far through all this is that there's no panic. They found out, they were notified, you have these 12 passengers. They immediately isolated them into the cabins that they have set aside for just such a case. And this is going to go happen when we start sailing again in North America. They're going to have these places set aside. They've isolated them there, they're very limited contact, and they're retesting them. That's exactly what we need to do. So now we have to wait and see if every test comes back negative, then we don't really have anything to worry about. Everything's good. If, say, the next 8 come back as positive, well, then you have a different can of worms. What do you do in that case? Do you remove those crew members? Do you keep them isolated on board? And then what do you do when the cruise is over with the passengers on board and the crew? They said when you get to the next place, they will retest as necessary. Well, as necessary, I'm hoping that what is necessary is if there's 8 positive results out of the 12, that they test every single person on that ship before they let them out into the public, out into the populace when they get back from their cruise. It's okay to keep them on the ship. It's okay to go to the next port. Would it be okay to let them off the ship? I don't know if there's positive cases there. But however, all the passengers had tested negative before getting on board. And so far, 4 of the 12 have tested negative again also. So we're hoping that's the case. But if the worst case scenario happens and there's those 8 cases and maybe more pop up between now and the end of the cruise, don't hesitate. Test every single crew member and every single passenger on that ship before you get back to port. Get that negative result and let them all off the ship with knowing and peace of mind that you're not going to hear, media reports and newspaper headlines in the future saying that 400 cases were caused by them letting people off into Greece without getting a test. Does that sound familiar to some places in Australia? Does that sound familiar to places in Los Angeles? Yes, it does, right? So yeah, my recommendation, and I hope that's what they're going to do, is that if those tests come back positive, start testing everybody. Make sure that there's no more cases before you let them off the ship ahead of time. There's plenty of time. There's lots of time to get that testing done. So let's hope that's what they are going to do. Because if they did let people off and then cases start popping up directly related to the cruise ship, it can not only hurt that cruise line's reputation and cruising in Greece, it can hurt cruising right across the world. Because again, people would say, well, the protocols aren't good enough. And so far they've proven that they have been. When cases have been found out, they've been isolated and there's been no further spread on ships. In fact, they've been far better than they have been on land as far as contract tracing and making sure everybody's okay. So let's just keep it that way. And if they have to test everybody, go ahead and test everybody. Not to mention that we only have 2 more days left before the expiration date here in North America for the CDC to let cruising start again. Wow, we haven't heard nothing. This is the longest that's happened. And I'm hoping that this is another example of, look, we have these cases, it turned out to be nothing, and we solved it in isolation. Our procedures work. Take a look. The cruise ship industry procedures are working. That's why we should be allowed to at least begin to start opening. Not en masse, in staggered, slow reopening and re-getting the industry going up again. Or if they don't test anybody and it spreads out to everybody, then that would just give more cause and more credence to extending CDC orders or reinitiating them in the future. And we just don't want that. We need to keep everybody as safe as we can, and we need to mitigate what possibility there is of this virus to everybody we can. We will not zero it out. No matter what we do, we can only prevent more spread and slow it down and keep our most vulnerable safe. And that's all we could hope to do. So in this case, I know the doctors and the health officials in Greece are really looking at it. And I'm hoping that these other cases come back negative. Then we really don't have anything to worry about. But if there are positive cases on there, I really hope that they would test everybody just to be safe before letting them back off the ship. But that would be expensive, and that's a big cost. And do you want to cause panic on your members who are cruising on your ship, the passengers? It's kind of an iffy thing, but I always err on the side of caution, and you don't want the worst to happen right now. Let me know what you guys think. It looks like another case of false positives that, thankfully this time didn't turn the cruise ship around for no reason. Remember the Alaska cruise that had a false positive and they turned the whole thing around, canceled it, ended up losing the rest of their little season, like a small cruise line? Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, and let's hope they take care of it and their procedures are holding fast. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. We'll see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world. Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.